Hey guys, welcome to another session of Epic 7. You'd be surprised that why is Jacob making a video? This video is actually beneficial for me because this video about this hero, new summer hero Frida, actually spares me time in the day that I could play Epic 7 and get on with my day. So I have to make this feature. It's ironic that I'm taking time to make a video for this, but it is actually the most time-saving thing in the game that Epic 7 has released in a while that I have to talk about her. So this is going to be Arena Showcase. I do think that her strong suit is going to be Arena, and mainly Arena specifically. I mean, you will find her maybe useful in Guild War and RTA, but I feel like Arena is where she really shines, just for the fact that she can allow your frontliner to soulburn without any books. And of course she's really well paired with Luna because there's a lot of Bellion on Arena defenses. So as long as New Moon Luna or ML Luna is in your team, like you actually have her, then Frida is like super good with her. So Frida's release honestly is a buff for a lot of stuff. I'll talk about that in length later, but here are some clips or fights I did for Arena. This is Arena Sunday on a push night, and I'm not pushing for anything this season, but it is legend players, at least in the top 100 defenses that I'm fighting against, and honestly Frida just makes it too easy. Anyways, sit back and enjoy. Alright, so here's me just hitting Arena, and this is Arena Sunday. You could believe it or not, but I mean, if you look at the points and you actually run Arena, you'll know that I'm not lying or whatever. It's not exactly rush hour though, a couple hours beforehand. Like I said, I won't be, pushing for anything like top 30 or even top 100 actually this season. I'm actually, my time zone has changed so much that it's gonna be too late for me to push. So it's gonna be a really long time, if any, that I will get interested in pushing for any Arena again. But you guys see the cleave again. It's very simple. It's very clear that Smilegate designed Frida for the very purpose of like synchronizing with ML Luna, and they had to have seen how the Arena defenses were. Smilegate always has this thing where they're balancing. It's almost like they're like, have like a schizophrenic disorder where they are fighting against themselves in terms of, okay, let's make cleave strong, okay, let's make cleave weak, and this is one of those let's make cleave strong things, especially for Arena. I'll talk about it later, but I think Frida's main objective is just to make Arena fun, fast. Yeah, so obviously I'm gonna be still picking out of the 3 teams that I'm faced with. I'm gonna still be picking the ones that I'm going to be, have a higher likelihood of winning. This one is funny too because I didn't even really need to showcase this because they don't have a Bellion. But generally they do, and you want to kind of force it into Bellion, right? Because there's something that I know that all competitive players love doing, is that you want to show your opponent how easy it was for you to cleave them or whatever, right? And obviously Frida is going to make it confusing, at least for the first week in my opinion. What should I run on defense? What can actually work? Because if you run a cleave team on a defense, you're going to just get tanked down, and because cleave teams are so squishy, it's not gonna last too long in terms of delaying their attack, right? But then if you run a Bellion, which is the whole point is to keep cleave at bay, then you're not going to do much there either, because Frida and ML Luna exist. I've had fights before where ML Luna, the opponent's ML Luna, went first, and it didn't really matter because ML Luna doesn't do anything outside of sealing and unbuffable. And now when she did that, at least on defensive teams, what I could do is I could still burn my ML Luna, and then I can cleanse 1 debuff with Frida, and then yeah. So also this was important to note. I got sealed by ML Luna because I failed to kill her, right? But because of Frida's passive, I was able to soulburn S1 and then cleanse off the seal. So when I got killed, RB can revive and still kill. So that's one thing that I think Frida is super strong. Now it didn't have to be Arbiter Vildred. It could have been even someone like BBK, but I think RB in that showcase is the best in terms of cleansing that on the second go around. it shows off the most. I'm just switching cleaving damage dealers right now because of just showcasing, again, like once you have ML Luna, Frida, Flan, and you have Brigida's artifact to plus 24, giving you enough souls after the S3 of Luna, S3 of Frida, it just makes this game just too easy. Like right now at least. Now I will talk about this and I will talk about it here as well. I ran into some sick freaks who run like, you know, like a 300 speed BBK on Secret Sword Art. Probably has damage. I never stuck around enough to find out, but because my Frida is almost 300 speed, I was able to cut that BBK with her passive, right? So frontliner does the soulburn, and then Frida gets like a 25% push. So it nullifies the sword art, so she's gonna get a turn, and then Frida would do another push for my Flan. So you can't have Flan too slow, you can't have Frida too slow, just because there are gonna be more people running that kind of anti-cleave cheese if you're running this team. Now obviously with this video release, and I'm sure other content creators are doing, because it's easy, man, it's cash grab content when you have a free cleave hero literally making your job easy. Now there's one team here you're gonna see I'm going to avoid that Zeo one on purpose because my Luna is no longer on immunity. On immunity she was a 306 speed, but for this cleave you're gonna be running like, you know, well hopefully you're faster without the immunity, but in my case I am. So I can't run into a Zeo, right? I can't front face him. I don't know how fast he is, even with the Vildred I probably would not outspeed him. So I'd want to avoid him. But that's the thing. It's like, is every defense team going to be like Zeo plus Ran plus, you know, ML Luluka? Oh, sorry, not ML Luluka. Green Lidica, not even Luluka. You know, like what is the new defense going to be? Because clearly, as long as Frida exists, Valiant defenses are just going to be kind of a joke, right? Again, assuming you have all resources to, you know, have enough good gear for your damage dealers, have the right artifacts, and if you don't have Brigida's artifact, which I explain why it's important, but if you don't have Brigida's artifact, you can technically run her own artifact, which will give you 1 soul, like I mean 10 souls rather. But you can run a different like defense breaker. The only risk is that your other defense breakers might have issues in terms of, like, let's say it's a Briar Witch Assyria, or it's an A Tywin, or anything like that. A Tywin's not going to get a guaranteed stun, right? You have a chance that they can stay awake and like, you know, counter and kill you. That's where BBK comes in, right? If you run into that issue, you don't have Brigida's artifact for Frida, just run like a BBK. And honestly, if they run a Luna, it doesn't matter. You will cleanse the seal. The only issue is that you have unbuffable, so you'll never be able to attack buff your BBK. So like assuming that Luna, the opponent's ML Luna, took the turn before mine, then yeah, you might run into issue there. But that's what I mean. It's like, so you have to run perhaps a Briar Witch, like decently fast, maybe 270, 280 speed with good effectiveness, and or a Tywin that's fast, or someone who would do a defense break that isn't Flan, right? So Flan's issue is that you can push back, but if you don't push back, you get cut, and that also forces your DPS, like Vildred here, you have to be really fast. But if you can run what I can run, then obviously you can push up that 50% boost with Flan. Alright, thanks for watching those fights and my commentary on them, and before we get any further, I want to thank my Patreon members who have still been supporting me while I have been super inactive on Epic 7, on YouTube, on any content making in general. My life has been busy. I wish I could just sit back and just talk about it. Maybe if you hop on stream, if I'm ever on a stream, maybe we'll talk about that. But I want to thank them again personally, Deek Boy, Light Neo, and Stone Thunder for your continued support via Patreon. Thank you guys are the best. Anyways, let's jump into Frida. I know that's why you're here, so I'm not going to tell you my background story and life story, whatever. But Frida is the new summer hero again, and I was saying at the beginning, the tease is that I do think that her strong suit, where she is strongest, is most likely going to be Arena. If you have been playing Arena for the last at least 2 seasons, Valiant defenses have to be, like, it has to be there, just because ML Luna and other cleavers beforehand, like for example like ML Politics and all that kind of stuff, if they had souls, it's just way too easy for the offense to win. So Bellion made a comeback, but yeah, I think more so because of ML Luna. So almost every defense has it. If Bellion is not there, it has to be like some kind of anti-cleave team, as in their defense is super, super fast. And really only a handful of people in Epic 7, at least on the global server, have heroes that are fast enough to run that kind of team and are strong enough. So like we're talking about like super, super fast heroes with actual perfect stats to be able to run that kind of defense. And even sometimes it's not enough to beat them, just because again, you're gonna have to give one of the slots, your defensive slots, for not having Bellion, and people could just like, you know, triple speed imprint their like 310 Sid or whatever, and Sid can wipe out 2 out of the, you know, 4 heroes. Long story short, Bellion has been a big issue, and she had always been since her release, right? The whole gimmick of no soulburn at the time of her release was extremely broken. Everybody hated her. I still think it's one of the most stupidest things in the game, and finally Epic 7, after a couple years, created a mechanic that counters that. Now, not to the full degree that it completely nullifies her. I do like the fact that they gave Frida this kind of like, I mean, this buff, this Oasis all ride pass. It can only, you know, be done once, right? But we had heroes like that before with similar type of mechanics in terms of like, let's ignore the souls that requires the soul burn. So like ML Assyria, I'm sorry, not ML Assyria, Fire Assyria. I think there was another that I'm not thinking of right now, but I know that they've like started using that kind of mechanic, right? And we're just like, oh yeah, that's obviously why you use that kind of mechanic. It's like the counter Bellion. Epic 7 has always been in this constant battle, I think even within themselves, in their own head. Is like, okay, we want to give cleavers all the tools, but we don't want to give them all the tools all the time. So they kind of keep going back into like making cleave bad, making cleave good, making cleave bad, making cleave good. Now, this is not a full commentary on that. I think it's kind of like boring or whatever. But again, my current life circumstance is that if I have to sit through arena and I can't cleave, I just don't want to do it, right? Because like I still want to spend my currency properly. I still want to min-max everything, but a lot of stuff I've given up on. I'll just admit this, okay? If you're just like, ah! Like Jagan, like how could you, man? You betrayed us. Like life, man. It's tough now. It's very, very difficult. Economy is in the it's really bad, and I think it's all over the world. But regardless, like time is now money for me. So like I feel like if there's a hero like Frida, for example, and the one of the buff patches that they had for the game, the nightmare raid where you could teleport to the boss, they finally give it to us, then now like I can do it, right? But even with the teleport, sometimes I find myself I don't even do the bosses. I don't know, like are you guys there? If you're watching me, you're probably one of the OGs, and you're just like, yeah, I know what you're talking about, Jagan. Anyways, let's talk about this. So I do think that Frida is the one of the strongest now going forward in terms of arena offense. And I say arena specifically because the Guild War in 1, it's a 3-man team. So 3-man teams generally, you don't need to necessarily fit Bellion on your team. You want to do something else to be able to contradict a cleave, because the offensive team in Guild War also has one less hero, for example. So in terms of an arena cleave, because you have 4 slots on the team, it makes cleaving high bulk heroes a lot easier, because then you can have like an attack buffer, or double like buffers. Like we used to have like C. Lilius for the vigor buff and stuff like that. And then a defense breaker, and then you got your cleaver, or maybe you have 2 forms of damage, right? So with Bellion and Frida's like introduction, now you got like they cancel each other out, right? Bellion technically is canceled out unless Bellion has Holy Sack or Bellion has an Aureus. To Frida, it's like a 1-to-1 cancel out. So realistically, you're playing on an even playing field. But in Guild War, you don't have that luxury to do that. So most people, I mean, I'm not saying for everyone, but most people, the meta Guild War defenses would not have a Bellion in it, because most of the time it's still easy to auto Guild War, even if you're not cleaving it. And also Guild War is a lot less taxing because it's only 3 times a day and you only got like 3 hits anyway. But compared to someone who, if you're min-maxing Epic 7 for every currency in the game, Arena is regenerative, and if you don't want to cap it at 5 flags and you got 5 more free flags, there's a lot more tendency for you to not do arena than you to not do guild war, if you know, understand what I mean. So what Frida does is then now opens it free. I don't want to use that pun. It frees you up in terms of your time, because now you can soulburn. Now you can just cancel out the Bellion in the comp. It doesn't really matter. And the thing is that she overcompensates for what Bellion cancels out, because she also has a cleanse, she also has a push in terms of the full team, and she also has an attack buff. Now, in my opinion, and any kind of like criteria, this would be called OP, right? In terms of how Epic 7 like releases a hero and like what's meta or whatever, and I would say I still think that she's most OP in arenas because Bellion is going to be there almost all the time on a defense team. Now, if you're playing World Arena, she's not as strong if they don't have Bellion. So if you don't pre-ban Bellion and they pick her, yeah, then she might be okay. But in terms of like how World Arena works, and then there's the lock, the pick 3 lock, all that kind of stuff, Bellion just might not be the best pick for the person countering the cleave, and then therefore Frida might not even run, because also in the order of you picking Frida to counter Bellion might not even be a real counter. So regardless, if you're pulling for Frida, you're one, doing it for the collection. The second is that you're cleaving arena, right? That's really the thing. Now I do want to talk about this again. Like her skill set is I still think it's extremely broken. Very well paired with Luna, because now the hero in front line will get this buff as well, and she also has it. And then if you soulburn, it costs 0 souls. Now if it's Luna, of course, with ML Luna in the front line, and she does the seal, soulburn, ignore, resist, she seals Bellion, then souls are generated for any hero behind. So now obviously my cleave is not a big brain cleave, it's nothing special. It's almost like what you would naturally do if you had the right artifacts and the right heroes in your team. Now this artifact, I wanted to say that Frida's release also has, I would say, increased the value of certain heroes. It had made heroes that weren't, you know, super good for attack for a while, now super good. She also makes this artifact really good now. This bird's eye view artifact, which was Brigida's artifact. So Brigida, not a non-limited Ice Soul Weaver, had this artifact. Now I don't know if any of you, like, when you looked at the artifact, you're like, okay, theoretically that's kind of cool, but you're just like, it's not even that good, right? Even with Brigida's kit, you still had Bellion, so it's like, oh, if they put a Bellion on, like, what's this artifact gonna do? So most people that I know who weren't like Omega Wills probably did pull for Brigida just because waifu, and maybe you got lucky with the artifact, or maybe you had enough powder and you bought one, but it's not a limited one, so most people won't do it. Now you're asking me, whoa, Jagan, how did you get, like, you know, at plus 24? I'll tell you this. I did pull for Brigida. I did get lucky for to get her, but I also got lucky. I got 2 artifacts while pulling for her hero copy. I didn't buy the powder because it's not a limited artifact. I didn't think it was even that good. So it was really me, the goal or the objective for the Brigida banner was me pulling her, get the hero, and I'm out, right? It was a literally just waifu collection, but I got lucky. I got 2 artifacts. Now I did have to spare 2 more bottles of knowledge. Yes, bottles of knowledge to do this. Now you're asking, what the frick, Dragon? Like, you putting bottles of knowledge in a non-limited hero artifact? Like I said, Frida and this artifact opening up the opportunity for me to cleave like the way that I can was more important to me than, you know, having a triple S banner. Hopefully I get a MLB limited artifact. It's just because it saves so much time. Without this artifact up 24, if you're counting ML Luna's S3 and then her S3, you won't generate enough souls to get 20 souls, and therefore you cut off a lot of cleave. So for example, obviously in my video, I'm using Flan again. Now blue Flan, so you see the stats here for Brigida, for Frida, and then you see my Flan is not even that good. I put some like pretty bad gear on her. Ideally, I think if you're running this comp, you give her as much effectiveness as possible. I think 270 to about 280 is where you probably want her, just in case if people run really fast Soul Constellation or run really fast Green Celine's artifact is the Secret Sword art. If they run those artifacts to like cut these like to cheese cleavers, it's kind of nice for her to be fast. Like I wish I could make her a bit faster. I did put her imprint on the attack imprint. I could put it on the effectiveness, but most of the time the cleavers I was using, which is Green Vildred, BBK, or Arbiter Vildred, I explained my uses for them. It would be those three, and then those three probably wouldn't matter if you do land all your defense breaks, and plus I'm at 210, 211 effectiveness. It doesn't matter. But Frida and that artifact gives Unseen Observer another shot, right? Because again, you're sealing off Billion, you're now being able to think about what are heroes that can help set up my damage dealers, but they can also generate souls. So with her generating the soul, I always get that last soul burn for BBK's S3, for Arbiter Vildred's S3, for Green Vildred's S3, pumping up that damage. And of course she gives the crit damage buff, so you probably want to run all your DPS at about 300 crit damage. I'll quickly just show my 3 DPS. So this is Vildred, nothing special, okay? Like I literally built him before just because he got his EE. This is not even maxed. He got his EE and I'm just like, okay, just build him. He's not even on a max Alexa. I have a max Alexa. Actually, I should put it on him, to be honest. I think I have it on Green Sid. I don't know who the other one has. And then so that's RB right there. Finally get to use RB again. And then BBK, of course, a lot of people running her right now, especially in World Arena. She's insane. Again, not maxed EE. But you see it's literally pure damage. You're expecting to be able to get your damage dealers to get a turn right now. I don't know what kind of defense can counter that right now. And going forward, of course, maybe the next ML will stop Frida from being so powerful or something. I have no idea. But either way, this is Green Vildred, and I think I will swap him to an attack boot. There's no reason for him to be any faster. Like I can probably give him like a green Ludwig, and then I don't know where's my my torrent sets are like pretty crappy right now. Like maybe I can, I don't know, like that's like, oh yeah, that's pretty trash, okay. But anyways, you want to aim for, if you're using the flan technique, you want to aim for about 300 crit damage. You get that crit damage buff. I think I have like probably something here. Yeah, like something like that looks better. I mean, there's nothing really Vildred can't kill with the Wind Rider and then his second cleave. But even if you are, running into that circumstance, it's not, it's not like you'll lose many. Like there's very, very little, I think, current defense teams that can survive it. Like if you put everyone with high ER to mitigate Flan's defense break, you're wasting too much damage on stats. And then in that case, in terms of ER stats, and in that case you can like run them through with like a BBK, like a full damage BBK, and that's kind of like how I run it, right? So it's like speed contest, I put a Green Vildred on. For fun, I kind of put an RB, he's kind of like an in-between. And then for like pure tank teams, like they have nothing to speed contest with, I just use a BBK, and it's pretty fun. But anyways, back on Frida. Her S1 is super clutch. I mean, it was surprising for me that they decided to give this ability to her, but understand, like in the rotation, even as we were watching it, because if she doesn't soul burn, her soul burn's on the S1. If she doesn't soul burn, she always have the Oasis All Right Pass. Like she'll always have that for free. So even if you blasted all your souls, and in some of my clips I have it where it's kind of risky that I don't kill them all, and then let's say for example, Muna sealed my RB can't revive obviously with the seal, so I would just soul burn for free because you don't even need 20 souls to do it as long as she has that passive, and then you could dispel at least one debuff, and then you always, at least for Muna, it's always the seal, and you'll be left with the unbuffable, but it doesn't matter, if he revives he's even stronger than before. So it's like, it's everything about her design is like, okay, it's very, very obvious what she's for. She's not going to be super flexible with all the scenarios I talked about. I have him a 6-star awakener, I forgot to do that. And then when she's max friendship, I will min-max and get that 15% combat readiness. But so far, with the cleave setup that I have, that's not even necessary. So anyways, I talked a lot. So if you have been watching and hopefully you have enjoyed it. Oh yeah, I forgot to show the moon, I guess. So for this, I just put her on my fastest speed gear. I don't think I even need effectiveness, because if I'm going to use it just for this cleave, you don't need effectiveness, you don't even need book, right? Realistically, it just opens up with like a ton of other like different things I could do with her. So she's not really even well tuned for my team. This was me making this video with like half of me like coming up with this and then like feeling it out and really getting a consistency with it, therefore making the video. But otherwise, before, she was like a 306 on immunity for Zeo. So one of the things I can't do with this build is that I can't exactly go into a Zeo defensive comp, which usually follows up with not like a Bellion, but like probably has like a MO Rowana or something like that in there. Then I probably wouldn't go straight up cleave it, because I don't even know if I run a green Vildred, you know, is that Zeo like 280 speed? You know, I've run into that before. But when my ML Luna had immunity on, even though it was a slower speed, I would run her into Zeo and it wouldn't matter, right? It's the only thing would be like I would have to run a Polychus or something like that to prevent the ML Rowana from cutting. But either way, so that's pretty much it for this video. It's been a long one. I've talked a lot. If you're watching this and you're still looking at Frida, I might actually pull for a couple more. I personally don't think her artifact is that good with the setup that I have. It has to be Brigida's artifact. So I'm not quite sure if I want to pull more. I got 3 artifacts and 3 copies of her. But she works, honestly. If you had just 1 copy of her and you had a max Brigida's artifact or a plus 24, you're gonna be flying. You're gonna really enjoy this season of Arena until there's some other counter. But anyways, I'm gonna end this here for the video. If you guys have Discord, check out the Discord server and just subscribe to me on YouTube if you haven't. If you want to, of course. If I will stream, I will make an announcement, of course, in my Discord. So if you want to catch me on a stream, then make sure you join there. Anyways, I'm gonna end this here. Thanks for watching. Talk to you guys next time.